Mr. City Manager, how you doing over there? You have everything you need for today's meeting?
Yes, sir.
All good, Ms. City Secretary? Okay. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and recognize a quorum, and we'll begin our ceremonial part of our meeting here today. We have Mr. Hugh Hagan coming up. Hugh, if you'll come on up. You guys all please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge.
Let us pray. Lord, we arose this morning through the power of the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And through that same power, we are able to gather here today to serve this city. So we ask that everything that is said and done here today will be pleasing to you and in accordance with your will. And we offer this prayer to you in the name of your Son. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Dang it, Stephanie. Hey, you guys can't hear out there, can you? My one and indivisible got divided incorrectly. So, welcome to today's meeting. We have a good business meeting for you guys here today. Several things that we get to do, but we get to first start by honoring people in our community that bring honor to the Texas Panhandle and our way of life. And so we have several that we're going to read. Mine is very long, and so you guys will have to give us some patience as we get down there, but please allow us to do this. Council, if you'll meet me downstairs, we'll start with Amarillo Fire Department accreditation.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, members and distinguished guests. Thank you for allowing me a few moments of your time this afternoon. My name is Neil Howard. I represent the Texas Fire Chiefs Association Best Practice Program. It's my honor to be here to recognize the Amarillo Fire Department for achieving one of the most meaningful accomplishments available to a fire service organization in Texas. Designation as the Texas Fire Chiefs Best Practice Recognition Department. This recognition is not an award that can be purchased, requested, or casually obtained. It's earned through hard work, accountability, and commitment to excellence at every level of the organization. The Best Practice Program was created by fire chiefs across the Texas to establish a set of professional standards and ensure that departments operate safely, efficiently, in alignment with nationally acceptable practices. To achieve recognition, the department must demonstrate compliance with more than 114 individual best practices covering critical areas such as emergency operations, training and professional development, risk reduction and community engagement, administration and financial accountability, personal management, and leadership standards. This is a rigorous multi-year process that requires documentation, verification, and on-site assessment by a team of experienced fire professionals. Only departments that meet every requirement earn the title of recognition Best Practice Department. This afternoon, I'd like to commend Chief Mays and the city of Amarillo and the entire Amarillo Fire Department for an outstanding leadership through this process. Chief Mays has demonstrated a clear vision for his department, one rooted with professionalism, transparency, and consistency and continuous improvement. His leadership, combined with the dedication of his command staff, officers, and firefighters, made this achievement possible. Now for the formal plaque presentation. Mayor and Council, I'd like to do that right quick for you. Chief Mays, if you will. Congratulations.
Sure. Photo op after my little rant. So I just want to thank everybody for being here, Mayor, Council, City Management, and just all the support we've had from you. The longer you're with an organization, the more you move up through an organization, as the load of the responsibilities increase, the more you realize how much you have to have a team. And so the team that I have with me, the gentlemen, possibly ladies and gentlemen, but gentlemen in the back of the room, all these are noble efforts. And I do want to say that to achieve best practices for our first time is not a finish line. We're just getting started. I mean, it's something it's self-imposed accountability that we'll have to upkeep for the rest of as we move forward. And we're not done here. We've got this, and then we're going to be rolling out some other things for our community related to ISO. So, and again, it's the same team, the same people delivering on that mission that make it all possible. I do want to give a special recognition to Battalion Chief Stephen Pierce. Please raise your hand. And let's embarrass him and focus on him for a second. We take a guy off a fire truck and we say, hey, you're used to operations, cool. Well, how about you come in? We're going to teach you spreadsheets and we're going to teach you administrative and managerial tasks. And and we need this done really quick. And he's done a great job. He's probably protested, but to his credit, I haven't heard it, and I appreciate it. And he'd be the first to also second what I said. It's all about the team. And for many of those that are in the room that helped with this effort, are in the back of the room, so please join me in a round of appreciation.
And just for the mayor and council, Amarillo is the 41st department in the state of Texas to achieve this, so you're in the top 50, which is a good thing to be in.
Thanks.
We've got about 50 more working on it right now. So,
thanks to Chief Howard. Representing the Texas Fire Chiefs Association, we appreciate it, and we'll get everybody up here for a photo op if you are. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You guys to step up to the front.
Tracy, can you get him on your knees? Can you get him on his knees? Dude, you suck.
That should be good, okay? All right, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to our fire family. Man, you guys are loved and appreciated in this community. Greatly appreciate you. Our Molly Goodnight chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution. We've got Miss Jenny and everybody else that's with her. If you guys don't mind, y'all go ahead and come on up, and then I'll read. Oh, okay. Okay. Come right on around, and I'll make sure I get that right. If you guys just want to So let me make sure we say this right. So we have the Panhandle Plains of the SAR. And then what was the daughters of Molly Goodnight? There we go. And the Esther, tell me the last name again. Esther McCory. Okay, well, thank you guys very much for being here today. Whereas on July 4th, 2026, our nation will commemorate the 250th anniversary of the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, a defining moment in the founding of the United States of America. Whereas this anniversary, invites us to reflect on our history, honor the contributions of all Americans, and recommit to the ideals of liberty, democracy, and justice for all. And whereas the Declaration of Independence proclaimed that all are created equal and endowed with certain unalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. And whereas the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution and the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution, whose members are descendants of patriots of the American Revolution, work to preserve American history, promote patriotism, and encourage civic education. And whereas the Esther McCrory chapter and the Molly Goodnight chapter and the Panhandle Plains chapter are commemorating America's 250th birthday through community activities, including the planting and dedication of a Liberty tree at the Texas Panhandle War Memorial, an American 250 celebration with Center City at high noon on the square, July 1st, 2026, and participation in the local 4th of July events. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim the period leading up to July 4th, 2026 as America 250, semi-quincentennial of the Declaration of Independence. You guys give them a round of applause.
As the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Sons of the American Revolution, we are honored to proclaim the anniversary of America 250, because without liberty, none of us would be here. We appreciate you letting us come be before you today and receive this proclamation.
I can get you a little closer together. Thank
Our next proclamation is for Senior Hunger Awareness Month. I know Catherine English may be here. If there are others that are associated with that, if you'll just come on up here as I read the proclamation that we have today. Whereas the health and safety of all older adults in the city of Amarillo is important to the growth, prosperity, and well-being of our community, and whereas the United States Department of Agriculture defines food insecurity as the limited or uncertain availability of or the uncertain ability to acquire nutritionally adequate and safe foods, and whereas food insecure seniors tend to have lower nutrient intake, lower diet quality, more chronic health conditions, poor self-reported health status, lengthened hospital stays, and greater hospital readmissions, cost-related medication non-adherence, and out-of-pocket medical expenses. And whereas there are at least 3,389 residents of Potter County and 3,736 residents of Randall County over the age of 65 who are experiencing food insecurity, a total of at least 7,125 people. And whereas older adults are often unable to increase their income to cover cost of living increases and are at greater risk of adverse mental health outcomes, and where it is our responsibility as citizens of the city of Amarillo to learn about hunger and food insecurity and do our part to reduce it. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council, the City of Amarillo, do hereby proclaim April 2026 as Senior Hunger Awareness Month in the City of Amarillo and urge every resident to recognize the challenges that many older adults in our community face in regards to hunger and food insecurity, and encourage every resident to do what they can to address the issue of hunger and food insecurity among older adults in our community. Together, we can ensure that all older adults in the city of Amarillo have at all times both physical and economic access to sufficient food that meets their dietary needs for a productive and healthy life.
Thank y'all so much. And we're really rounding out our Senior Hunger Awareness Month with this final proclamation. We've been to Randall County, Potter County, and also the city of Canyon. And it really is just a demonstration that to help reduce senior food security, it takes everybody. It takes an entire community. And so I wanted to let y'all know about our seniorhungersolutions.org website. You can go on there to find food resources. So if you know an older adult, if you know somebody who's needing assistance, or if you yourself want to volunteer with one of the many great organizations that we have in this city, you can find them on our website. You can also find a recording of our How to Start a Community Garden webinar we did this month. And as part of Senior Hunger Awareness, you can find more information on a documentary that we did with Panhandle PBS called Broken Bread. All 4 episodes are out now, and we would encourage you to watch if you want to know more about what senior hunger looks like in our area. And we also have a social media toolkit if you want to post online to start the conversation about senior hunger and learn more about what you can do. So that's seniorhungersolutions.org. And everybody at the Mary E. Bivens Foundation, thanks y'all so much for this proclamation. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, we have our proclamation for Safe Digging Month. And so I know Doug Beck from West Texas Gas and others may be here. So if you'll come back here and join the mayor and other council members as we read this proclamation. Whereas thousands of times each year, underground infrastructure in Texas is damaged when excavators and homeowners fail to have underground lines located prior to digging, resulting in service interruptions, environmental damage, and threats to public safety. And whereas in 2005, the Federal Communications Commission designated 811 as the national number for excavators and homeowners to contact utility operators to request the location of underground lines at an intended dig site. And whereas Texas 811, a nonprofit organization dedicated to preventing damage to underground utilities in all 254 counties of the state, promotes the national 811 notification system in an effort to reduce such damages, and whereas damage prevention is a shared responsibility, and by using safe digging practices and contacting 811 before digging, the excavators and homeowners of Amarillo can save time and money and help keep our infrastructure safe and connected. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 2026 as Safe Digging Month in the City of Amarillo and encourage all excavators, contractors, and homeowners to always contact Texas 811 before digging, because safe digging is no accident.
Okay, so here's something to think about. There is not a person in this room that isn't affected by this. Do you realize every day the fire departments in the United States are called out to gas lines that are hit during excavations? Part of that process is houses blow up because of those things. How many times have you been without internet because somebody hit the communication line? The water companies cannot figure out the billions and billions of gallons of water they lose annually due to excavation damages. That's fresh water that you don't get to your house. That's why this is so important. It's not only about public safety. It's about, keeping our natural resources and the things we need to operate daily up and running. So don't ever not call 811. Because if you don't call 811, most likely you're going to be calling 911. Think about that.
Shannon, are you here? Nope. And crew? A proclamation for Drinking Water Week. Very important. Whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas drinking water serves a vital role in daily life, meeting essential health, hydration, and hygiene needs that support the quality of life our citizens enjoy, and whereas tap water provides public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy, and whereas the hard work performed by the entire water sector, including those designing capital projects, operators ensuring the safety and quality of drinking water, and pipe crews maintaining the infrastructure communities rely on to transport high-quality drinking water from its source to consumers' taps, is essential to our community. And whereas recent public health emergencies have highlighted the importance of drinking water for health, hydration, and hygiene needs, and whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which current and future generations depend, and whereas the citizens of our city are called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, practice water conservation, and become familiar with their water systems. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim May 3rd through May 9th, 2026 as Drinking Water Week in the City of Amarillo, and encourage all citizens to recognize the critical role drinking water plays in our daily lives and to support efforts to protect and conserve this vital resource.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this recognition on Drinking Water Week. I would like to take a moment to recognize the hundreds of people that it takes to adequately provide clean and safe drinking water to the public. We have water operations controllers, water compliance technicians, instrumentation electric and controls specialists, wellfield mechanic operators, wellfield operators, water mechanics, electricians, pipe fitters, water forepersons, chemists, microbiologists, and professional and administrative staff that work 24/7, 365 days a year to ensure that we have an adequate supply of safe and clean drinking water. To each and every one of these individuals at this podium today, I would like to specifically thank them for their work and their professionalism in supplying this vital resource to our community.
Okay, we're going to do a proclamation for the Municipal Clerks Week. Is it just? Okay. These are the ones that really keep the organization going and some of the councilmen going as well. We all need a little help. So, okay, whereas the office of the Municipal Clerk is a time-honored and vital part of the local government, serving as a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and the agencies at other levels of government. And whereas municipal clerks provide critical services such as maintaining public records, preparing meeting agendas and minutes, administering local elections, and supporting the transparent operations of government. And whereas the work of municipal clerks promotes citizen engagement, government accountability and community, trust through accuracy, impartiality, and dedication to democratic principles. And whereas communities across the nation annually set aside a week in May to recognize and celebrate the essential contributions of municipal clerks to effective, responsive local government. And whereas the City of Amarillo's municipal clerks continually strive for excellence in the administration of their duties through ongoing professional development, including participation in educational programs, seminars, workshops, and conferences hosted by state, national, and international organizations. And whereas it is the most fitting that we recognize and honor the dedication, service, and accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk, now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim the week of May 3rd through May 9th, 2026 as Municipal Clerks Week in Amarillo, and further extend our appreciation to our City Secretary's office for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to this community.
Short and sweet. We are just very fortunate to get to do what we do, and we're thankful to serve the citizens in this community.
Oh, thank you guys for letting us do that. I know there was a few there, but important to do them. Miss City Secretary, an example of a good municipal clerk is when you see your mayor walking up, prepared to read all three in a row. She says, hey, you know those are copies. Like there's three groups here. And then I saw that one word at the bottom, and Miss Johnny was like, you know, we had bets on whether you could say that or not because we know you didn't read it. So semi-quincentennial. Not bad. High school diploma. Telling you. Randall High. Okay. Thank you guys for letting us do that. We will get going. Officially calling ourselves to order here. Do I have any announcements, Mr. City Manager?
No, sir.
Okay. Public comment, one of our favorite parts of our meetings here today. If I can hand it over to our city secretary, she'll read us into that section. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for participating in today's city council meeting. We value your input and appreciate you taking your time to share your thoughts today. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address council during public comment or during the public hearing we have today. At 2.5 minutes, you will notice your timer will flash from green to yellow. And at the time up at 3 minutes, it will beep continuously. Please try to stay within your allotted time. We do have one public hearing today. If you wish to speak on that item, we would ask that you speak on that item either during public comment or during the public hearing, but not both to ensure accurate records. It is your it is your choice at which point you would like to speak. We will use both podiums today. When your name is called, please make your way to the open podium. When it's your turn, state your name and whether or not you live within the Amarillo city limits before beginning your comments. For topics not on today's agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act limits how council may respond. Council may provide factual statements, ask for the issue to be added to a future agenda, or refer you to the city manager so staff can visit with you about your concern. If you'd like to speak but haven't signed up yet, please come see me now and fill out a form so we can add you to the list. We have 3 individuals signed up right now. So first we will invite up Chris Pittman. And as Chris makes his way up to the open podium, Catherine Lopez will be after Chris. It appears Chris may not be here. Is Catherine here? Okay. Mike Fisher.
My name is Mike Fisher. I live in the city limits. I don't see the traffic light issue on the agenda that we talked about. I think you requested that. And I think you requested as an action item also. We raised taxes for this year's budget, and we based that on last year's budget. And we spent 5,000 hours on the audit. I think the auditors said that. Now we found 15 million extra is the way I understand it. So now, if we based it on last year, simple math, we have like 30 million extra. I mean, just without getting into the weeds, as Cole says. But then we did a CO for 30 million. I mean, kind of weird that matched. Why isn't anybody in trouble? I mean, it seems like somebody should be getting in trouble. My first impression, what to use that money for, is parks and recs. But then we're reinforcing bad behavior. And you just wonder, are we being played? And I wonder if, you guys show up and this isn't a full-time job and you got to believe what everybody's telling you. But at some point, you guys got to say, man, every week, seems like every week there's something. And at some point, we got to stop saying you're doing such a great job. Cole, I know you like to take the positive route, and it doesn't seem to be working. Maybe we need to take a different route for that. So I recommend to pay off those COs if we have 30 million, just pay them off so we don't reinforce this. Because if we say, well, let's put it in parks, then next year it's going to be the same thing. We're going to hide money, go up on the budget, find some money, spend it on something else. So if you don't give them those increases, they'll figure out a way to do it, because now it's kind of like house money. The idea of a $1.5 billion sewer upgrade is a bunch of crap. You like my joke there? It's a dad joke there. At the Water Conservation Show, Cole, you spoke at that. You remember that at the Civic Center? I talked to somebody that they build sewer plants, and they said, our plants are fine. They said, there's nothing different about a sewer plant the way it works today than it did 60 years ago. You just change the parts, and you fix them, and you update them. And so we could scale those up. Guys, we're being played here. They said the interceptor plant would level off the load between the two plants, but now Donnie Hooper says that's not the case. If that interceptor plant leveled it off, we'd be at 53% of our capacity, not 75 of the. And I could go on. I've researched this, guys. I'm gonna file some federal complaints and state complaints on this, because I think we're really trying to push this through to pad the budget. But thanks for your time, and thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
Okay, we would invite up Johnny Etheridge to either podium.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Bureaucracy seems to be a dirty word for people. They're just, how do you fight City Hall? How do you fight bureaucracy? I think we need to think more along the lines of appreciating what civil service is. Today you honored municipal clerks. Civic involvement not only means criticism, it requires acknowledgement and support of the successes that we all do. Public service is not too often not appreciated for what it's worth. You know, the police and fire services that we honored today is pretty obvious that when they do a good job, you go and thank them. But as far as people that were behind the scenes supporting regulations and funding of multiple services, they're never rewarded, it seems like. I think all the city employees of the bureaucracy have been embarrassed because of the 3 employees that, they had discrepancies in the money from the CDBG that they got in. So that seems to be affecting a lot of people's view of the community development system. Now, Grayson appointed Jason Riddlesberger. It seems like you guys have gotten more grant money coming in to tear down the houses and do the things. We're going on 3 or 4 bids every week now, and there was a kind of a lull in that. I'm not sure, did HUD give you a problem with, because some of that money was missing? Okay, you know what I'm talking about? Okay. Well, all the way from Weldon and building safety and Gwen worked for you, Sheila King, Misty in accounting. All these people need congratulations on the job they're doing to make the city a lot prettier and cleaner in the flats and San Jacinto, things, houses that need to be torn down. We do a lot of those demolitions to try to better the community. And if we can get more CDBG money in, then we're going to be able to do some more demolitions and stuff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. Mr. Benson.
Yes, sir. I'd like to discuss item number 4.2. I don't know these gentlemen. I don't have anything personally against these gentlemen that want to build this hotel. My problem is when's it going to stop? When can we have a discussion about everybody builds a downtown hotel and they get free taxes for 10 or 20 years? It can't keep going on, guys. Because when budget comes around, you're scrambling for money. You're scrambling for money because you're giving it away. So I'm just asking, do a study on how many more hotels do we need downtown? Because I can tell you this, everybody's getting free hotel money, but Deepak. And Deepak pays his taxes on all of them. But he gets 0 tax breaks. I want you guys to really discuss on some agenda coming up how many more hotels we need downtown. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. Ms. City Secretary.
That concludes everyone that signed up.
Everyone, thank you guys for signing up. We appreciate it when you kind of forecast that, and we know who's coming and can prepare in case we are able to. Do I have anybody else here that would like to offer public comment? If you'd like to, raise your hand now. Okay, I don't see anyone else here today, but I do thank those for giving their comments here today, and we will continue working on those items. At this time, we're going to move ourselves forward into the consent agenda. Recognizing the four of us that are here, do I have anybody that would like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Okay, would request a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion on item 4? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0 vote. Okay, moving forward, we'll look at our discussion. Item 5.1, Mr. Danforth with construction project update.
Mayor, Council, this is a positive discussion due to some changes that you recommended and changes that the city manager made. A lot of times we don't get an opportunity to stand up in front of you and say, here's some major successes that we've achieved for the city of Amarillo. Keep in mind that the majority of the employees that work for us in these departments are citizens of Amarillo and take pride in the work that they do because they do see that it does impact their city. So I'll begin with this. This is a rather large update. Keep in mind, even with the scale and size of this update, it is extremely condensed compared to the total amount of work that has taken place. Progress and change is the way we're approaching this. New direction from council to the city manager, a new direction from the city manager to the staff, and then the new staff assignments that were delegated by the city manager with the goals and the direction that were provided by council to the manager. The new process is taking place in tracking projects, enhancement of a team-first approach, working with all departments working together, which historically was not the condition that occurred in Amarillo. Improved customer engagement with both contractors and developers as far as developer projects and projects that require permits and inspections, and improved results and transfer of knowledge. That's been one of the biggest holes and one of the biggest challenges that we've had to deal with is as people have retired or left, that knowledge left with them. And then you're scrambling when you're the new guy trying to figure out who said what to who and what commitments were made. So we are looking at improving those results, and we've made giant steps in that direction. But I want to start with the projects that we've had. And like I said, this is going to be a large presentation, but I think it's needed. When we look at the first project that we have on here is the Bivens building. Chamber of Commerce, multiple different groups utilize this facility, but it's one of the gemstones for the city of Amarillo. A lot of the tourist population comes and sees this. It was experiencing major deterioration that was going on as far as the components of that structure, the soffit, the roof, the concealed drains. Concealed drains are not common in today's market. You don't see those. Well, concealed drains are beautiful for the facade, but from a maintenance standpoint, when those drains flood, it destroys your soffit, your rafter tails, different components. That was all completely redone, repainted, and that project is now complete. It actually came in under budget and on time. And you're going to hear that a lot. Animal management and welfare site. Some of you have sat on those boards. You know the challenges that are going on out there. The project is currently in progress, as you see here. The concern was not only from a safety standpoint for the public going out there, but also the Texas State Vet, because we had deteriorating concrete. We didn't truly have ADA access. We didn't have good drainage. When this structure was originally built, it was built more like residential standards instead of a commercial standard. So you have to expect that you're going to have these kinds of major repairs taking place. This is the first step that we're looking at in many, many steps that we will continue to make out there. Kennel renovations will be the next goal that we're looking at. But we're seeing good progress on the site, enhanced drainage, and enhanced accessibility. The 6th Street Bridge project. This project's been sitting out there for quite a while. It was the end of Rails to Trails if Rails to Trails was to end. Of course, once we completed construction of the day center out there, and we finished the construction of the new transit department out there. This is the natural end to that Rails to Trails, getting all of that transportation and that walking path completely developed. The project is almost complete. You can see the safety rails that were installed, the walkways that are installed. Later on, we'll be installing lighted handrails to really enhance that area. Central Library roof, this was a capital project that was approved in your CIP. You can look at that roof and see the deterioration. It was one of the roofs that we had been coming up on the CIP year after year. It was funded by the council. New HVAC components, as you change those roofs out, those new HVAC units have to be adjusted, heights have to be changed. That project on Central Library, you're looking at big refrigeration units being moved and a new roof on that one. That's in the design phase. As soon as the mechanical designs are completed, that project is expected to start within the next 2 to 3 months. Northwest Branch Library was in the same condition, so you see that the roof was actually removed and replaced. The roof was original to the building when it was built. So to say that we got over 30 years of use out of a roof, I'm sure a lot of people would say that's a great job. It got to the point to where it had to be replaced, and once again, we had to do that. That project will actually complete here within the next 10 days. And it is currently under budget and on time. Comanche Trails Pump House. This affects the golf course and the reutilization of water. The pump house that existed there was inadequate. It would not properly hold the new pump stations that you as the council purchased a few months back. Those pumps, when they showed up, we looked at enhancing that, fixing that. It was a partnership working with Excel Energy, Facilities, and the Parks Department. The project is now complete, and it did come in under budget. Comanche Trail sewer line repairs. This is an interesting project, and the reason I bring this up in front of you is we never did shut down the facilities, but we had to keep a facility completely operational. So what you see is the finished floor after the job is done, but during construction, all of that was removed because the cast iron pipe inside that facility had failed and had to be replaced. Once again, this is an issue that we deal with constantly on older structures, especially as it regards cast iron pipe. Cast iron pipe, at the time that it was designed, was a wonderful product. However, when you utilize chlorine on cast iron, you can imagine if you were putting chlorine on raw steel, eventually it eats it up. Rick Klein parking lot. Rick Klein parking lot, this was basically a dirt field that existed, that anybody that used those soccer fields, those football fields, all of that had to be parking out in the mud or in the dirt. This project was brought in front of you, council. Council, you've provided the transfer of the funds for us to accomplish this project. Project is complete. It was done under budget, and it was done ahead of schedule. John Stiff, north and south parking lots. John Stiff has always had challenges with parking. We had council members actually approach the Parks Department. The Parks Department actually approached city management and approached facilities and said, what can we do to get this addressed? We had residents in that area that said, hey, cars are parking around us anytime you have a sports event. There's just not enough parking in John Stiff. Both of those projects, the north and south parking lot, were completed. And like I said, once again, a cooperation between multiple departments in the city to achieve the goal and the request. John Stiff roadway. When you look at John Stiff Park, the challenge is always there was one way in and one way out. And so when you have a bunch of people there, or you had kids at an event, good luck getting out or good luck getting in. Now there's 2 points of entrance and exit into John Stiff. This roadway actually exits directly onto Bell Street, so it's not going into a bottleneck anymore, and it gives better access to the park. There again, you approved the project. Parks worked in conjunction with facilities to get the design and the engineering done. Project was brought in and completed on budget and under timelines. Civic Center cooling tower replacement. This cooling tower is 30 years old. Cooling tower's expected life expectancies on these units is right at 20 years. This one's 30 years old. This controls about 50% of the cooling operations within the Civic Center. It's not a part that you just buy off the shelf. It's a part that has to be designed and engineered. As you can see looking at the photos where the corrosion is actually eating through the sides of the unit, and the membrane system that we actually do the evaporative cooling off of has been replaced 6 times totally, but it's reached its life expectancy. So it's currently in the design phase, and we anticipate this project moving forward this fall. We don't want to take it down during the summer months. Civic Center boiler replacement. When you look at this, it's actually 12 boilers that were installed in the Civic Center to maintain that. Keep in mind, historically, the Civic Center is linked to the old City Hall. So we were able to utilize the heating and cooling from the Civic Center to keep City Hall operational in case their systems failed. So the size of this is more than adequate to service the Civic Center now that City Hall will be offline. That project is also complete and did come in under budget by a substantial amount and was done almost 6 months ahead of schedule. Civic Center lighting project and upgrades. This project is in the design phase. We have done 3 Civic Center lighting upgrades to date. Looking at the energy consumption on the Civic Center after each upgrade, we have noticed substantial reductions in energy costs. And we've also noticed that the enhanced LED lighting within the facility in the areas that have been remodeled, customer satisfaction is a lot higher in those areas, especially as far as exhibitors are concerned. So this is in the design phase. We're anticipating this fall. This is always a coordinated effort on Civic Center projects to see when big shows are coming in to make sure we don't have construction going on while that kind of work is taking place. Civic Center soffit replacement. This was a life safety issue that existed. Originally, that was an EFIS project. That was when the Civic Center was originally built. With our strong winds, it was literally busting the framing on that EFIS and pushing it down, causing a life safety issue. We worked with them on this project. That is now a metal decking that we're going to expect a lot longer life out of. The project is now complete as well. This was a project that, quite frankly, gave me great trepidation. This project was done in a 2-week period. Basically, we went in, took out the entire concrete floor and ammonia system that is embedded in that concrete floor, removed it, and reinstalled it in a 3-week time period. Project was completed and actually came in under budget. Civic Center ice plant motor. Most people don't realize that that's an ammonia system. There are not a lot of people in the city of Amarillo qualified to work on ammonia systems of this size and scale. Fortunately, you have within your staff the ability to do it and self-perform it. And once again, you realize a lot of savings because we're able to do it in-house. That project was completed and brought in under budget as well. Current project that's going on right now, I'm sure you've had conversations with the public about it. The impact of this is huge. The restrooms around the Coliseum and the Civic Center were not completely ADA accessible and they were aging infrastructure from back in the 1960s. So those restrooms hadn't really been touched or updated. What you're looking at is the last of the concrete being poured over that, and we anticipate this project being done in June before the Jehovah's, which is one of the biggest conventions coming in. We should be ahead of them by 2 weeks before they actually show up. There again, coordinating those timelines are critical to us. But we anticipate the project being done, and once again, we will hit our schedule, and we should be right on budget with this project. Public health doors and frames. This is kind of an odd one, so I want to bring this to you. Public health doors and frames, when City Council approved buying this, we did a remodel of that space for public health. The doors and frames that were inside that building when it was originally built were basically residential doors. They had lasted for a period of 10 years. We thought, well, let's see if they will make it. We found out, no, they wouldn't. So this project was brought back. It was funded through their funding mechanism, and we have that project in process right now, bringing those back to commercial doors, commercial operators, commercial hardware. The SIMS HVAC replacement system. The server system that runs the entire city of Amarillo's computer
operations is actually in the Sims building. It's the heart of the IT system. The units that you're looking at in this picture are actually units that we inherited from Atmos Energy when we took over the building. We were able to keep those functional, but those units are right now over 35 years old. We've got to replace those and keep those updated. The last thing we can do is not have refrigeration in that kind of an area that could potentially take down the entire network for the city. The other challenge to these units is these are old R22 units, which consequently R22, when these were built and installed, R22 at that time cost $1.50 a pound. Now it's running around $45 a pound for R22. So you can see the efficiency of having these older units is really not in place. We won't remove them. We'll keep them as backup units, but we will do secondary units so that we have a redundancy within that facility. That's currently in engineering. We anticipate engineering to be completed on that in the next 30 to 45 days. Once we've got that in place, then that project will go out to bid. Old City Hall demolition. Here's the challenge. Everybody keeps going, when are you going to do something? And I'm sure you as council members have had suggestions. Well, we can use that building for this or that. No, we can't. The building, the reason we moved out of the building is the building was failing. It was starting to settle. Cast iron pipe was failing. We've done an asbestos survey on this. We're looking at about $250,000 for asbestos abatement in that building by itself. The other thing is the building is tied to the Civic Center. We have to do the engineering to separate the two of those and then do the park lighting and the parking lot lighting off of a different service. Part of the Civic Center is still powered out of the old City Hall, so that has to be separated and re-engineered. Once we've got that done, then we will start on that construction phase and the asbestos abatement phase moving forward on that. Transit North Heights bus stop installation. This again was a great partnership from both CP&D, which is engineering, transit, and planning. Now we have basically pulled a project that was very slow and been set on the books for a few years, pulled this thing forward in a matter of 6 months, got the project done and completed. The project did come in under budget, but it was not on time. But there again, because of the partnerships, we were able to escalate that and get that project done and completed. Solid waste transfer station, where the project is in the design phase. We anticipate the design being completed within the next 30 days. Keep in mind that this building, I would say, Mr. Harder can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say over 90% of the solid waste collected in the city of Amarillo goes through this building where it is compacted, compressed, and transferred out to the landfill. This is an older structure that has experienced a lot of challenges. So when we look at this project, the design is critical for us in staging this so that we can keep the facility operational so that we don't impact the citizens going forward. So we're waiting on that design. Once that's completed, then we'll come back to you with what we're looking at to actually execute the project. Service center emulsion tanks. I know some of you have seen this before, but for the potholes, for the equipment that was purchased by Public Works to address potholes, they needed to have the solution and storage containment vessels that they could keep those units loaded. Basically, this was a partnership between Public Works and the Facilities Department to execute and build this and get it stood up. From the moment of conception to completion of this project was actually right at 4.5 months. So you can see that we can move fast if we're properly funded and properly have a plan to execute. River Road, this is once again another project. Mr. Hooper approached myself and facilities and said, can you help us out and get these tanks addressed? We've been dealing with this for a while. This is a concrete problem. This is a problem that's reducing capacity at River Road. Can you help us get this out and get this done in a quick manner? We engaged a local engineer, worked with them, worked with a local contractor, got the project done and got it completed in 6 weeks' time. Emergency Operations Center is looking at upgrading. Obviously, we utilize them quite a bit, but some of their technology is old. Some of their space needs to be adjusted. We're in the design phase for that to actually modernize that. That was built We built that right at 18 years ago. So it's got some age on it. It's functioning great, but it can be streamlined to really enhance what its capabilities are. Fire Marshal's office has some of the same issues. We're looking at that. We're in the design phase on that to enhance that and help them in their functions. I bring up something simple like this with the fire station sewer replacement. Once again, I'm talking about cast iron pipe, but we had cast iron pipe failures that have required us to actually tunnel under the building to replace that cast iron pipe. And it came all the way out to the main, and we had complete failure all the way, which turns out to be a call to say, can you snake a sewer line? Turns into a basically a $100,000 project to get this thing back up and operational. The good thing is we were able to do that without shutting down the fire station. Still kept it fully functional. Fire Station 14, those of you that haven't had a chance to drive by, when you get a chance, drive by. It's an impressive site that's going up. We're currently on schedule with that project, and we are still within budget. So we're anticipating being able to bring another project to you on time and on budget. Service Center North remodel, Mayor, you and I did a walkthrough on that facility. I appreciated your input on it. The project is now done and occupied, and it has allowed us to transfer the utilities department over into that area where they're currently working and staffed. The project is complete, and it did come in under budget. Drainage Department on Line Avenue was part of the land swap that was taking place with Potter County for us to get their property, and we got their property, basically a net zero transfer of property that was beneficial to Potter County and beneficial to the city of Amarillo. That project is in progress. It should be completed within the next week. Basically, the construction is completed. It's the transfer of the drainage utility department to occupy the space that was occupied by utilities at the service center, allowing us to coordinate and get all of our equipment in one place to where we can better control and manage it. Municipal Court parking lot. This was a project that I've been asking for over 16 years. You guys funded it, allowed us to go ahead and do it. What many people don't realize is the old parking lot actually set almost 2 foot higher than the front doors to municipal courts. Every time it rained, water would accumulate. Custodians were tasked with every time we get a rain, we want sandbags in front of the doors at municipal courts because the water's going to run in there. This allowed us to go in there, change the elevation on the parking lot, put in a concrete parking lot, storm drainage within the parking lot, and yes, Les, we did move some trees. Project did come in under budget and on time. Once again, we've got another issue with a chiller that was installed in the police department. There's actually 3 of those that sit in the basement of the police department. This project is in the design phase. This is an R22 system that was original to the building. Obviously, it's aged out. It's almost 40 years old, R22 system. Keep in mind, a system like this holds close to 200 pounds of R22. Once again, remember the number that I quoted to you on R22. At $45 a pound, you can see the value of keeping these old systems in there that are starting to leak and starting to cause us problems. Is it more efficient to bring it up to speed or to continue to pay those accelerated prices for refrigerant? This is in the design phase. The challenge to this is that it is in the basement. You can see that this is a rather large unit, so we end up having to do the design to actually cut part of the alley out to remove this unit to set a new unit in. Once that design's completed, and we anticipate that within the next 60 days, then we'll be putting out to bid the new chiller system to go back in there and replace it. Police department locker rooms. Those poor guys were in a terrible situation. I don't know how many of you have been in there, but originally their locker rooms were basically high school locker rooms, and they were cheap ones at that. It was a terrible condition. The showers that were in the locker rooms at the police department were still the standard pole where 5 guys stand around a pole and take a shower. Now the private showers, larger lockers that can actually hold their gear, and we went in and dealt with also the air conditioning in that area because it was a low ceiling. You can imagine an 8-foot ceiling with a locker room. It got pretty ripe in there. we've addressed those issues. So the airflow is better, the lighting's better, the conditions are better, and we're taking better care of our officers. That project is now complete. Police Department Homicide Unit, well, we had the contractor on site. We took advantage of having a contractor on site that we could pivot quickly to address the needs that the Police Department brought from us. There again, this is all a collaboration between the Police Department, you guys, and the Facilities Department to get these projects executed and done. This project was completed and brought in under budget. Police Department 5th floor remodel, which is one of our shining jewels. That was done in a collaboration between the Facilities Department and the Police Department to accomplish the goals of that. That project was brought in under budget, and it was on time. Development is another thing that a lot of you guys don't really realize the impact that development has on the city. So I wanted to give us a little bit of talking points and get you guys some understanding on what your city's actually doing. It's hard to really get a good handle on it unless you're really embedded with our departments to understand the scale and scope that's actually happening within the city of Amarillo. But we wanted, in the development department, we've changed our goals and strategies to really understand the partnerships that we have with our developers and with our contractors, to really sharing the challenges for both parties. You know, a lot of times a conflict can be addressed when the developer understands the challenge that the city has. It's not always a one-way street. And then always keep in mind the city's best interest as we go forward, because really it's an asset to the city as we go forward from a development to any project that we do. Development and engineering projects typically deal with new construction, i.e. water, sewer, paving, and drainage, developer-driven prepared projects, developer contractor, complete construction projects. But the city inspects during the construction to ensure that the standards are being met. Realize as a developer is building these areas, their intention is to transfer those assets back over to the city to maintain at a later date. Well, the goal is to make sure it's built to city standards for us to even accept it. So we're constantly inspecting and working with those developers on those projects going forward. Once a project is complete or a development is completed, and built to city standards, we accept the project, and then we begin the depreciation on the assets that are dedicated to us. The city will take up maintenance after the warranty period. The warranty period is always critical to us to coordinate with the developers and say, hey, this problem occurred. It's not even a year old. I need this street repaired. I need these curb and gutters replaced, or drainage or something like that would occur. Typically, that doesn't happen very often. If we're doing the inspections properly, we catch that stuff before it impacts the contractor, the developer, or the city. Here's some of the development projects so that you guys are aware of them. Beacon Point 1, the project is accepted. City View, Unit 20, accepted. Heritage Hill, Unit 18, accepted. Homestead Units 3, 4, 5, and 6 are accepted. South Haven Unit 6, accepted. Town Square Unit 14, accepted. Tradewind Square Unit 7, accepted. And this is the impact to you as the city, and you as council need to be aware of this. When we do accept this stuff, we do accept additional responsibilities. So in the 24-25 year of those developments, we inherited basically another 7 miles worth of streets that we have to maintain, and we inherited another 2 miles of alleys. Storm sewer, we inherited almost another 3 miles of that. Water mains, 10 miles, and sewer mains, 6.5 miles. So you can see all of that increases the scope and the load that comes onto city staff as we move forward, which is one reason we're so diligent during the inspection process to say, all right, we really need something that's going to last a while, because if we don't, the impact to us as a city is enhanced maintenance. So really, I wanted to give you guys a quadrant look of the city of Amarillo. So when you're looking at development, if you're looking at the northeast and the southeast projects, you can see Fox Hollow, Buffalo Highlands are there in the northeast quadrant. The southeast quadrant, we have several projects that are going on, from Tradewinds to South Haven to City View to South Gateway to Beacon Point. Then you look at the northwest quadrant, we have the vineyards that are going on there, Rock Ridge is going on there, Trails at Tascosa is going on there, and then you look at the southwest project. Yes, that seems to be the concentration, but we are spreading throughout the entire city. So when you look at the city, the growth is happening in all areas. So as we look at those projects are in construction in yellow highlight, which is Beacon Point 2, and in review, Beacon Point 3. In construction is Buffalo Highlands. In construction is City View Unit 2. We're in review on 23. In construction is 17, 19, and 22 on Heritage Hills, and we're reviewing 23. Hillside 31 and 32 are in construction. In construction is Homestead Units 7 and 8. And in warranty is Westgate Parkway and Utilities. In construction, South Gateway Unit 2 and 3. In review, South Haven 7 and 8. In construction and review, so Town Square Unit 13, Town Square Unit 18 in review. In construction, Tradewinds Square Unit 8, Tradewinds Air Park Unit 22. In construction, Tascosa Trails Unit 4, and Unit 2 is in review, and in warranty is Unit 2. Construction in the vineyards is ongoing on Unit 11 and 12, and the vineyards condominiums, and in review is Unit 15. So as you can see by the staging of those projects, as we just went through those last slides, we are working with the developers, not holding up the entire project. We're breaking them apart so that they can move forward faster. There again, that's the partnership between the developer and the city, looking at a holistic way to approach this moving forward. As we look at accepting these projects that you currently have, or these development projects, keep in mind, once again, we're impacting what our city assets are. We're now at 10.5 miles of streets we're going to be inheriting when these projects complete, the number of alleys that we're looking at, the stormwater, water mains and sewer mains. All of this is increasing the footprint of Amarillo and the amount of infrastructure that we have to maintain. Council approved projects, annually approved capital improvement projects, council directed projects, and emergency projects. We understand that not every project, and I'm sure you as council understand, but not always do the citizens understand that just because we have a CIP doesn't mean that's the only thing we have to deal with. We have stuff that fails that we have to bring before you to talk to you about, hey, we need to get this project going quicker. Council-directed projects, such as what we talked about with parks, where you directed us to move forward on that. Those are the projects that we've looked at in the past and are looking at going forward. Typically, capital project includes maintenance projects for water and wastewater utilities, as well as streets and drainage. City-driven, prepared projects that we bring to you in the 5-year CIP. Contractors typically awarded contracts to complete the work. So we're not self-performing it. It's too big for city staff to be able to perform all of this work, but we do take into account some of that work is self-performed, as you've seen by some of the previous slides. Completed capital projects in the previous year 24-25 and 25-26, most are in warranty. Warranties typically last 1 year following acceptance. Here's some of your capital projects that you've had in that timeline. Polk Street Streetscape, positive feedback on Polk Street. Actually, that was one of the first change orders I brought to you as a council, but the change order wasn't for additional money. It was to come to you and say, hey, I need to give you $350,000 back. The project came in under budget, and we did get an excellent job out of that contractor. John David Circle, sanitary sewer extension. Once again, our infrastructure expands. Sometimes we do the expansion for the infrastructure. Sometimes it's the developer's responsibility. But you can see that this project is complete. Scott Park drainage, which some people refer to as the greenways. You can see where that drainage project took place. That project is now completed and in the warranty phase. There was participation, and there again, drainage utilities worked with the engineering department, which worked with the PID, which worked to get the project done. Multiple entities involved in a project like this. Water main replacement for downtown. This water main replacement was a 12-inch line, which was basically balancing the fire load for downtown and the water availability in case we had a catastrophic issue. It was a critical job because it required us to bring water from the east side of the railroad tracks, basically bore under the tracks and bring it around and close the loop back to the downtown system so that we had a balanced, adequate supply of water for the downtown system. The project is complete. The project on 4th Street, 4th Street, that project had been sitting there. The road was closed for an extended period of time. That was the change order that came to you that would allow us to transfer the funds from the savings on the water system to this to close that project out and get it done, and the project is complete. Actually, after our estimate, it came in around $45,000 under budget. Amarillo Sewer Crossing, this is at Applewood. That project is complete. It's a unique thing to see in Amarillo, an exposed sanitary sewer line that crosses a creek, but there it exists. The repairs are complete on that system. Capital projects in progress in design phase, anticipated to be advertised out for bid. So here's the northeast interceptor. The interceptor is now draining to River Road. The interceptor project, it doesn't look anything like this now. If you was to drive out there right now, it's smooth. Grass is seeded out there. I sure hope we get rain because I'd like to see that grass come out. But that project, we anticipate the final components of that happening within the next 30 days. And then that will be a closed out project. North Heights 2-inch main replacements. You guys have seen this project in your council updates, but the community doesn't always see this. So we get a lot of complaints that, hey, we don't have adequate service in this area. One of the things that controls the design of the North Heights projects that we're looking at as far as those water lines, it's not strictly residential, it's fire control as well. Do we have enough water to fire hydrants? And then we do the engineering to hit those goals and objectives. We've got the same thing on phase 2, so we're actually looking at that. That project is then designed, should be completed in short order. The Gables is in the same scenario. We're looking at where's the best strategic place to put those 6-inch mains to increase both service to the residents and to increase fire protection in those neighborhoods. Coulter Street reconstruction, basically this is a project we're currently working on. We're at 60% design right now. We anticipate within the next 60 days to be 100% complete on the design on that project. This, for those that don't realize, this impacts the Kids Inc. project. It impacts future development in that area. And we do see that the need for Coulter Street to be expanded as a main boulevard for Amarillo is critical in this area. So looking ahead, the design's in place. And like I said, I expect within the next 60 days to be at 100% design. Hollywood Road Wastewater Treatment Plant. We are currently engaged with an engineer. The contractor is awarded to basically go out there and resurvey the site to get that out of the floodplain. What is it going to take to get that done? What's it going to take to get accomplished? First meetings have been conducted with the engineer of record on this. We anticipate moving as quickly as we can on this. This will be a project that we're going to coordinate with the engineer and get a dirt contractor on board as quick as we get enough design plans to get the project moving, and then we'll fine-tune it as we go throughout the project. But it is a critical project that we're wanting to move as quickly as we can on. Water main extension, Northwestern and Hastings, that project, we were going to do bid openings on it Thursday of this week. It has been pushed back 2 weeks for additional questions by contractors, but in 2 weeks, this project will open, and we will be awarding and bringing it to you. Street maintenance projects, when we look at those, I've presented this to you as a council to understand where we're doing it, what quadrants of the city we're working on. Obviously, we're working on multiple areas going through. This is a partnership that we have with engineering and with Public Works and traffic in looking at this. Reconstruction of Osage Street is currently ongoing. We'll have a presentation with a little bit more information on this, but we're currently at 60% design on this project as we stand here today. Osage wastewater treatment plant, the chlorine system, you guys approved that at the last council meeting. That project is moving forward. Hollywood sludge thickening. Here again, this is engineering working together with the utilities department in-house to execute these projects, these designs. Whether we farm those designs out or perform them in-house, we do project management through the engineering department to make sure we're meeting the needs of those jobs and to keep those jobs on time and under budget. Georgia Street reconstruction, it looks a lot different today than what's in this photo. Currently, there's the 2 lanes on the east side of the road are currently poured. The first lane on the west side was poured yesterday. So we're looking at that phase of that project moving forward. We anticipate opening up the south half of that Georgia Street project with a new concrete road by the end of May. The drainage bond projects, these are critical projects that we've got to talk about and that we have talked about rather extensively. With the bond that you as a council approved, we took a step back and said, what can we do and what is the biggest critical need? An example is, as we look at Lawrence Lake, one of the first things we looked at is, yes, there's a lot that needs to be done there, but the biggest challenge to us is how can we dewater that lake? So we changed our focus and said, the first thing we want to do is get a force main that's big enough and a pump station that's big enough to dewater that lake as quickly as we can to prevent any future flooding like what we had to go through in 23. What you're looking at is it's 3.5 times the speed that it was able to dewater at in the past. We'll be able to do now. And we're keeping operational the existing pumps that are there. So you're looking at 15 million gallons a day that we'll be able to pump out of that lake once this is done. I anticipate with our CMAR coming back in front of you at the next council meeting with a guaranteed maximum price for the work to be performed on Lawrence Lake. Pump Station 7, or Playa 7, when we look at that project is currently at about 60 to 70% of the design phase is complete. The pathways are complete. We're currently working with TxDOT on that project. The project is in progress. And you as a council did approve us to utilize the same CMR that we're using on Lawrence to get the value engineering on this project to keep that project in budget as best we can. We're currently working with the engineers, like I said, internally and with TxDOT to bring this project in as quickly as we can. 45th and Lamar Storm Drain Project. That project was highlighted as flooding in that area. That project is currently complete in the design and out to bid. The 5-year plan. Where are we at the current year? At the current year with the approved CIPs that you have from 25 to 26, we're at 80% either in design or completed. In 24-25, we're at 85% completed or in process. So we're in a good spot as far as going forward. How do we view the future years? Future years is if council approves the money, the directive to the city manager is if I get the funding for it, I want it done. And I agree wholeheartedly with his approach. He's tasked us to stay focused and to move in that manner. I think we can achieve that. Some of those projects obviously are not a 1-year project, they're a 3-year project. By the time you do design and construction, they are massive projects. But we do want to have everything either in design or construction for every CIP year moving forward at the end of that year. What are the council and city manager's directives? Exactly that. You guys want us moving, getting the job done. If you're going to give us the money, do the job. And that's the approach we're taking moving forward. what is staff seeing as future needs? Future needs, when we do a 5-year CIP plan, which is what you guys see every year at budget time, is what all of the departments are looking at is what in their particular area do they see as a need coming up within the next 5 years. That is what you're presented. And in that process, we evaluate what is the highest priority at that given time. Understanding that those priorities can change if we have a catastrophic failure on one of those components that's maybe in year 3 is liable to get moved up to year 1 depending on the need. But in all situations going forward with the directives that you guys have given to the city manager and the city manager has given to us, those always come back in front of you going forward, where in the past transfers were made and directives were changed. That does not happen now. You are going to be aware of every step as we move forward. With that, I'm going to wrap it up. If you've got questions, ask Stephanie. She'll be able to answer them.
Yep. Welcome back, council. Questions?
You didn't fall asleep, Mayor.
Not
I
at
told
all.
you if you did.
No, it's in depth. Remind me to have you more frequent to our meetings, and we'll stay caught up moving forward. But we appreciate it. I mean, you're not at a lack of productivity nor projects to go and tend to, obviously. So, council, you have any questions on these projects?
Just to comment, it's refreshing to see how much activity the city is producing, how much work is being done. We oftentimes only hear about the negative, but when you see how much the city is changing, how much work is being done to make the city better by everyone, it is very refreshing, and it feels like we're all rowing in the same direction. So thank you for that. Thank you for this in-depth presentation, and thank you for doing a good job.
Appreciate that, Councilman.
So why is it that you can't get one street project completed before you start on another one? That's the question I hear from people. But.
You know, Councilman Simpson, I actually appreciate that question, because here's the challenge that we have in Amarillo, Texas. We only have a certain period of time that we can actually do a street project in. And when we have multiple projects, because we only have 6 calendar months that we can really be laying asphalt, I need to be doing multiple projects at the same time and multitasking. And then some of the street projects, when you look at it, in all honesty, some of them are different means and methods. Some of them are cape and micro seal. Some of them are actually mill and fill. Some of them are totally demolish and repave. So they're all, you know, you're looking at 3 different kinds of paving maintenance programs that we have. And this is all done in coordination with Public Works, because they obviously know their streets better than we do. Where's our problems? And that's where they drag us in. But we always understand our time constraints of the paving season as we talk about it. So I understand the public frustration going, golly, there's orange barrels here, and 2 blocks over there's orange barrels again. But we're dealing with a limited time frame to be able to get in there and do the work. And so that's really what drives it.
Yeah. Also, you took the wind out of my sails, but I was going to ask you how many trees were killed in the construction of these projects. But timing on the city hall, what does that look like?
What we're actually looking at, once we've got those engineered designs in place, then that allows us to decouple from the Civic Center, rebuild the electrical panels that need to feed the Civic Center, decouple the heating and cooling from the Civic Center, and the fiber optics. Keep in mind, that was the heart of the city for a long time. A lot of that's already been decoupled as far as IT is concerned, but when we go to cutting stuff, we always find something that just shows up out of nowhere. So we're doing our best to not impact the citizens when we do this to the best of our ability. The short answer is once that engineering is done, that construction will probably take about 4 months to be done. So the engineering's 2 months, construction of the decoupling components probably about another 4 months. While that decoupling is going on, we'll start the asbestos abatement. Like I said, that's a huge project within in that structure. That'll run concurrently. Once that is completed, then we will already have a bid for the demolition of the structure itself. And that demolition of the structure, that's not going to take that long once the asbestos abatement is completed.
And then what's the plan for that space once the building is removed?
It's actually a green space at this time until we get direction to do something else. That's the current direction, is to create additional green space there.
Will anything other than just a green space, I mean, will there be could be a gathering place before a football game, a baseball game or something? Will there be things other than just grass there, like benches or those types of things? Or
Right now, we're just looking at benches or grass at this point in time. But there again, at council directions, the way we go. So if council was to say, well, we want this a little fancier, then you would see facilities seeking out parks going, let's do some collaboration here. What can we do to satisfy what the council's asking for?
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Tips, anything from you? Okay. Mr. Danforth, we appreciate you. Keep up the good work over there. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may real quick, again, I just like to I know as Councilor Presco was saying, we get hit up with a lot of just little things, a dumpster here, a pothole there, and it's very easy for us, the citizens, to kind of get that microcosmic view of little things and forget the sheer scale of what it takes to run a city and the sheer scale of the infrastructure, the things that we own, the things that we're responsible for, the things that keep our community going and every day. So there's just so much work goes into every day's operation from every department, from public works to streets to library to parks to every department to keep our community moving. So I'm very thankful to Donnie's entire team, for public works, to utilities, to engineering, to facilities, to parks, for all of this, the incredible scale of work we're accomplishing for our citizens, for our community, things that we all take for granted. But without these things start to fall apart very quickly. So again, I'm very thankful for all their hard work. We've done a lot of great changes the last couple of years, and we have much more planned ahead. So, Council, we thank you for your support. And again, we wanted to give this to you because, again, you guys hit up with all the little things. We want to give you guys this opportunity to see the big victories that we're accomplishing with your guidance and your direction. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we take the criticism the right way. We take it constructively. I get to work around true professionals, and so when you say if we don't stay on top of these things, they fall apart very quickly. COVID was something we all lived through. We watched things fall apart during that time. We've identified those. Previous council was tasked with go out and identify these problems. We went out and we identified the problem. Then we came back and current council said, okay, now how do we fix all these problems? Now we're fixing these problems. And so I think as you hear the criticism, it remains a constant for me to refuse to take it personally and to continue to take it professionally. That, like, these are not problems that I created. These are things that have been in the works literally for decades. Growth pays for growth, and it's important that we continue to grow, but then you also have to balance that with repair and emergencies and all of that. And so I'm thankful to live in a good community that understands the criticism can be constructive. It's not always delivered that way, but we're choosing to take it professionally and continue to move it forward. And so the greatest thing that I see is what I heard Mr. Danforth say over and over again is, project was brought in on time, under budget. Project was on time, under budget. We're bringing these savings back to you. What that means is we're going to identify those. We're going to reappropriate those monies. We're going to go out there and get to that next set of items that beautify our community, and we'll balance that between things that are, quality of life issues and things that are core function. And I see it that way. And so we're very healthy in that aspect. And it is easy to get hung up in feeling like you're being criticized, and it can be overwhelming. But man, it looks way better than it did, and I'm thankful to sit on a good, strong team. So I appreciate your comments, sir. Let's, what time is it? 4:30. Let's do Hooper. Donnie, if you can go ahead and run us through yours, and then we'll take a recess.
Okay, and my presentation's a little bit longer than Jerry's, so I hope that
an hour and a half, somewhere in
be
there.
okay
we'll be
with
ready.
that. Yeah,
No.
just a tad longer than Jerry's.
I thought maybe Jerry just missed having Floyd around, so he was trying to step into that role.
Well, it's interesting that, Jerry and I had that conversation, and we knew it was going to be long, but when we talked about it, he said, What do I take out of that, though? If we're going to highlight what all we're doing, we need to get it all out there. So I'm glad that he did that. This is a little bit different subject, but along the same lines of what you just mentioned, Mayor. And speaking of work that's been around for decades or things that are that we're cleaning up now that have been on the books for a while, this is one of those items. So today we're going to give you an update on the Tradewind sewer extension request. It was actually a request that was made for the Tradewind Square subdivision back in 2016 originally by the Williams Group, and I know we have representatives from the Williams Group that are with us here today. That project sat on the shelf for a while, and then there were some things that happened with that we'll discuss in this presentation. But we'll talk a little bit about the history of it. We'll talk about the development policy manual in brief and recommendations for our participation in this project. We'll also briefly touch on the project pro forma as well. So the original request from the Williams Group for this sewer main extension, again, as I mentioned, back in 2016 when that came online, the request came online. This is for about 1,100 homes. It's actually, I believe the accurate number is 1,152 on that. And again, I mentioned that we have reps here today that could probably clarify that, but I think it's 1,152 is a total on that. Currently, there are no sewer mains that serve that proposed development. The design was actually funded in a previous CIP that was actually funded back in 2017. It was grossly underfunded in 2017 as we went back and looked at that. And at some point in time, around 2023, because that project did not have enough funding in it and hadn't moved forward at that point in time, that project money was funded somewhere else. It actually went back to reserves as far as we can tell, and then it was used for a different project, which might mention too that as that happened and that was transferred to a later project, our policy actually states that the Director of Utilities must reevaluate those CIPs annually, look at those, because sometimes you have, as Jerry mentioned in his presentation, that we have projects that come up that we were not expecting. The Director of Utilities has the opportunity to change that, pull something from something that's not active and put it to an active project, which is what happened with that funding back then. So there are no developer agreements in place for this. I might mention, too, that in 2016, 2017, Capital Projects and Development Engineering was not created yet. Everything was underneath Public Works at that time, and that department had not been created. CP&D is what I'm talking about. There's not a current budgeted CIP item for this request, and there's not a funding source for this project as well. The proposed extension alignment would be on 58 from Osage to Tradewinds Road. It's about a mile to extend that service to provide that. This is just a map showing you, kind of orientate you with where we're at. There's Southeast 58 down in the bottom portion of that along the city limit line. You can see those green lines that are in there. That's existing sewer that is in the area. You can see that this is where the proposed development is going to be. I mean, it's a different shape than that, obviously, but it's a large development. And there's no sewer that would serve that. You can't really go to the north with that due to the depth or due to the lift that it would take to get out of there, and there's also some easement issues going that way as well. So what the proposal is to extend that sewer main back over to the east and tie it back in to the sewer mains that are on Osage Street that go directly out to the wastewater treatment plant. The original, the estimates that we've gotten recently, in fact, this week, design estimates around $250,000, construction estimate, and again, this is a very rough construction estimate based on a 10 to 20 foot depth on that sewer line. We don't know what that depth is going to be. We don't know what other infrastructure is down the way there, so there's going to have to be some investigative things that take place, but that's the rough estimate at $2.7 million for construction of that. Our development policy manual says that when we look at our development policy manual, we really look at three things. The first thing we look at is, does the request that we're receiving have a public interest? Will it serve the public? And I don't know why that line got shifted there, but it was right at some point. Did you do that to me, Stephanie? Yeah. I'm just kidding. But anyway, so my apologies for that. But we look and see if there's a public interest. That's the main thing that we want to look at. If there's a public interest, then we can move forward and we can say, is the proposed main or extension identified in our utility master plan? The answer in this case is that it does serve a public reason for the development, and also, but we do not have it identified in our utility master plan. And then the third thing would be, is there funding identified either in our capital plan or by the applicant to move forward with this? In this case, there is no funding. It's not a part of our master plan. So it does meet the first criteria as well. So our staff recommendation is that we proceed with the design of this project, not the construction at this time, but the design of this project. And we've had several meetings with the Williams Group to talk about this and walk this item out. They took us back through the history of it and what they proposed back in 2016, what's happened since then. We had some very productive meetings. The mayor was present for those meetings as well. But the idea would be to create a shovel-ready project or set of plans and specs for this project, and then that would give staff time to evaluate possible construction participation that we'd bring back to council at the appropriate time based on the ROI analysis that we would look at while design is occurring, because there's a lot of other things that we have to look at in the ROI. The Williams Group did provide us with some very good numbers that showed what the tax increase would be for the property tax, as well as what the revenue would be for water and for sewer if it was fully developed out at the 1,152 homes. We'll have to go back and reevaluate that a little bit and look at what it costs to treat a gallon of, per home, what it takes to treat that sewage, what it takes to treat the water, all those different factors, and we can do that while this design is going on. The challenges that we have are there's no identified funding. We talked about that, and staff would need to place an action item on a future council agenda to talk about that with a specific funding request. Now, what that's going to mean is the likely option would be that we would have to transfer that from another capital project to make that work, of the $250,000. As Jerry was mentioning in his presentation, we do have some savings from different projects here and there that we should be able to do that. With our new processes in place, it should be pretty easy for us to come back, bring you the identified amount where we would be able to receive that from, and proceed with that transfer to get this project done. The existing contract on Osage is in place. This is for the Osage reconstruction. Kimley Horn has the design for that. Those plans are at 60% complete right now. Our idea is that since the proposed tie-in for this would be at 58th and Osage, that we would engage with them to make a scope change in the existing contract that we have. This approach would generate some efficiencies in that project. They already know what's out there. They know the infrastructure that's in Osage Street. They know where the tie-in points would be. And we're going to, I think, see a more efficient and better price come back if we use an existing engineer that's already in place rather than go out for an RFQ and try to go through that process, which, by the way, will take a longer period of time. Something the Williams Group is concerned about is how much time it would take us to get this design done, so every month would count on that. And, the RFQ process takes a while to get through. So that's our proposal on how we would move forward with this, and we would be bringing that back to you as well. So if we do the design, this is what it would accomplish. It would satisfy the participation in the project as we had committed, as the City of Amarillo, previous staff had committed to the Williams Group. And with plenty of conversations, plenty of emails that took place. Again, there's no developer agreement in place, but there were a lot of conversations saying that we would participate in this. It would also give us a chance to develop the accurate construction cost information. That estimate I gave you of $2.7 million, it would let us hone in on that. When we get to 30% design, we should know better what this project is going to cost us. It'll allow time for city staff to evaluate those operational costs, O&M, processing costs, other factors for services provided, even over on the general fund side with the taxing portion of that, of what it costs to provide the services for fire, police, road repair, maintenance, things like that as we move forward. And we'd be able to evaluate the construction project against other identified CIPs, both in water and sewer, which is what we're going to have to do, and see how this competes with those projects that are out there. As I've mentioned before, in water and sewer, we have many, many millions of dollars of projects that are identified that are not in year one of the CIP, so we would go through that evaluation process as well. So today, staff's not asking council to decide construction or endorse a specific ROI number. What we're simply asking is direction to move forward with that design, subject to a funding recommendation that will be brought back at the May 12th council meeting. We should be able to come back with that. Plenty of time for us to do that over the next 2 weeks to bring that back to you of where we would receive the funding for that, and then we can move forward with this project should it be your direction for this. And I can answer any questions or anything that you might have related to this.
Donnie, do y'all look at, you just mentioned an ROI number. Do y'all look at that whenever you're looking at a project like this?
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's a more in-depth look that we'll take at it. It's easy to see the total revenue. It's easy to see what water is going to produce, what sewer is going to produce, and what taxing property tax is going to produce out of that. The trick is to go back and look at that and look at the actual costs. As this council has mentioned many times, we want to run this like a business, and if you had a business, that's exactly what you would do. You'd look at, okay, what is the overall impact to the cost of the citizens of Amarillo for this extension, and how would that affect it? This will give us time to do that during the design to see what that is actually going to be, or come close to it. And there's things that you have to look at too that, not saying the Williams Group is not committed to building 1,152 homes, but what if the economy changes in year 2 and we only build 200 of those, because you can't build them all at once? What if we only build 300? How does that impact us? So we will evaluate every piece of that when we come back with a good recommendation to you as far as the construction numbers are concerned.
Could you, and this may be unfair, but could you speculate why, we passed our, the ability to form a MUD? Can you speculate as to why maybe they wouldn't use this in this case?
Yeah,
It's inside the city limits.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't
It's already-
qualify.
so it's already in, it's not
Yeah,
out.
it's already inside.
Right.
Okay, okay.
It's unserved
Yeah.
property.
Gotcha.
Any other questions, sir?
That's it.
Okay. Question, Councilman.
So let's go back to 2016. I mean, because I'm kind of confused as to why, I mean, a decade ago and why it's coming up now. But I guess my question is, so at that time, what specific documented action did the city commit to, and where is that documented?
Yeah, there's documentation in meetings that occurred. There were documentation in emails back and forth between the Williams Group. And at the time, I mean, this goes all the way back to when Michael Rice was the Director of Public Works here. So there was and that would have fallen underneath the Director of Public Works at that time. And then there were other conversations that took place. And again, it kind of, in my opinion, in my evaluation, and the Williams could comment on this as well if they needed to, but in our conversations we've had with them, it fell dormant for a little while. Then in 23, when those conversations picked back up, that's when there was no funding there because it had already been shifted somewhere else. So the plans were there all along to at least develop this at some point in time. And I'm not sure, I wasn't there. I came in 2018 and wasn't part of any of those conversations, but I have seen the emails and read the conversations.
So was it approved by council, or was it just kind of a informal staff level
It was
understanding?
informal, staff level. Of course, that would have been brought to council at some point in time for approval, should it have moved forward.
And I mean, I know you weren't here for all of it, but again, what specifically prevented this from moving forward over the past decade?
Not sure how to answer that, Councilman. I know that, when they made that, they created a CIP for that. We went back and looked at that, and they had roughly $1 million in there for something that we know is going to cost a lot more than that. And again, I wasn't a part of those conversations.
And then, have we funded this type of request for other developers?
Sure.
And if so, what? Because to me, this criteria looks kind of vague. I mean, anybody could come for anything, and if we say it's a benefit to the citizens, unless there's something else that gives more specifics of how much benefit is worth an investment.
So there's a development policy manual that's very in-depth and detailed. Those were just the 3 highlights we pick out of there kind of as a red light, green light, yellow light, that when we look at something, say, is it a benefit to the public? Is it something that's in our master plan? Is it something that we have funding for? Those are the first 3 questions we should be asking. And I'm really talking about the new process we have now. Then we go back to that developer's policy manual. We work on getting a developer's agreement in place. There's different guardrails that are in place now that were not in place back in 2016 that would make it a more complex request and complex, just like I said, coming back to council and presenting all those ROI numbers, presenting the reason why we would either be for or against, or making a recommendation to you on what we should do on this. So it's a little bit more in depth than just those 3 things. I'm just saying those are kind of the litmus tests of how far do we push this forward, if you can answer those questions.
So, and when was the last time we did something like this, or the most recent project?
Oh gosh, I couldn't, I'm not sure what that would be.
Well, I would say Northwestern. If we were looking at another area that you look through the development policy that we've funded, it would be the
Northwestern would be similar to that. Northwestern is in our master plan, though, and it is something that we had planned to do all along.
Right.
And it was spurred by some growth that was going to be in that area as well. So that's probably the correct answer, yes.
So,
which that was just water, by the way. There was no sewer there.
But again, I guess this particular request, I mean, what you're saying is it doesn't meet our current criteria.
It doesn't answer all the questions, no. And we don't have a funding source, and it's not in our master plan.
And so are there any other projects that we've done where it didn't answer those questions and we proceeded anyway?
Les, I don't know how to answer that. We can find it out. There's other experts in the room that can probably speak to that have been a part of that department for a long time. But what we're trying to do right now is get a process in place, and we shared this with the Williams Group, that we need something that we can move forward with, that this will be the precedence that we're setting moving forward when these projects come to us. And we do want to spur growth in those areas where we do see potential growth that's coming. There's already a major water line that runs down this segment, down 58th Street. So at some point in time, there was a water line that was extended across that same corridor that we're talking about for projected growth.
And so why would we make an exception in this case and not make exception in other cases?
I'm not following what exceptions we didn't make in another case.
I'm just saying, so this one doesn't meet the criteria in a couple of areas that we have established. So it's up to us to decide, it's up to really council to decide if we're going to allow this even though it does not meet the current standard that we have?
The best way I can answer that is I can't go back and evaluate what the personnel that was in place that made these decisions and made the commitments via email to the Williams Group. We read those, and they did say that we're going to move this project forward, which obviously would be coming to council for final approval, but that they were intending to move the project forward. And so the Williams Group began preparing for that based on the conversations that were had with city staff at the time. So we felt that it was probably our best obligation or best move forward to participate in the obligation that was made by previous staff to at least do the design on this and evaluate the construction piece of it later to see if it's going to be something that we would recommend moving forward with.
And so the request at this point is is the request for just the design, or is the request going to be that we pay for the entire?
No, just for design. At this point in time, all we're looking at doing is getting the design because we have a contractor in place. It would be the most cost-efficient way to do that with our consulting engineer that's already working on Osage Street to be able to move this project forward.
And so we estimate that to be $250,000?
Correct.
And then, but there's no expectation of any more from the city?
At this point in time, no. That would be for evaluation, for future consideration for us and for the, of course, to bring to the council.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not, doesn't matter to me who's involved or whatever, but it just seems a little bit of slippery slope that we've established certain things that we say, here's what we're looking to accomplish. And, shame on us or wherever it fell through in the last 10 years where the ball got dropped. I mean, but obviously nobody here, had anything to do with that. But my concern would be, making it, we establish these protocols and then we make an exception. And who else would say, well, you made an exception for this project. This other project's very important. We'd like to do the same thing. We know we're not in the master plan. I'm just wondering, well, what are the metrics or how we determine who else gets it? Because to me, it seems like at the end of the day, without any more specifics, unless they're in the plan, it's all up to council if we grant people that don't meet our standards to be able to receive the funding. And then it's up to us to choose.
Yeah, and I don't know that the three things that I mentioned are the hard, fast rules that it has to be in the master plan or we just will not do it. I think if it's not in the master plan, we need to evaluate why it wasn't in the master plan. Sometimes growth, and depending on when we built that master plan, growth is not going to show up in there, but we still need to entertain those ideas and see if it's truly going to benefit the public as a whole or in a great part, and not just the if you have someone that's just developing 10 homes and the only thing that's going to benefit is them and it's a dead-end line going to them, we wouldn't consider that. You have to consider that it would have some effect on future growth potential, and maybe it wasn't identified in the master plan, but we need to evaluate that.
Well, and to me, in this case, $250,000, while a lot of money, in the grand scheme of what all we do is not a lot of money. It's not the amount of money. I think that's my concern is just what's guiding us because, on what we do or what we don't do. And I guess that's why I don't have a real good, clear indication of where, how do we determine what really is going to benefit, what doesn't benefit, and what are the things that guide that? And, how are we going to apply them the same to all who come for us to help develop our city?
The development policy manual gives us that latitude to be able to evaluate.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think it's important in this scenario. Two things. The 250, is that just a percentage? I mean, how do we get up at 250,000 for the design phase? Is that a percentage of the overall project? Is it 9%, something like that, 10%?
I'm having a difficult time hearing you, Councilman. I'm sorry.
The 250,000, is that just a percentage of the estimated price for the design phase?
The 250,000 is what is estimated that it would cost us for the full design.
Okay, and is that just a time and materials type deal, or is it a percentage of what they think the overall project's going to be?
We would bring that back to you as a change of scope in the project that we have now.
Okay.
And I believe that contract was somewhere around 5% for engineering fees, something like that. It was something fairly low compared to what we're used to paying. So it's a very favorable percentage.
And then, so we do have a documentation. The documentation from, when was it, 2018 you said, 2017? Whenever the documentation was that we would move forward with this project.
There's several pieces of documentation that say that we would move forward with this project.
And those forms of documentation allowed the Williams Group, or the Williams Group move forward with this project at that point?
I think that to answer that the best is the conversation we had with them, and Seth was explaining to us, when we get those verbal commitments, even though we don't have a developer's agreement in place, it hasn't been approved by council, we think it's moving forward, so we start making our plans and start trying to figure out how we're going to accomplish this. And I know they're probably not buying materials and stocking it on the ground yet, but they're making their plans for their business plan on what they're going to be doing as far as development is concerned. And I was satisfied, and I think the group was satisfied that there was enough documented evidence that we had made some commitments that we would move something forward.
So as opposed to making an exception, we are honoring an obligation that others made before us that set these seats.
I think that's a good way to say it. And again, the development policy manual states in, and we talked about this in our meetings with them, that regardless whether we think it's a good project, whether it meets all the criteria, if we don't have the funding, we can't do it. It doesn't matter what the opinion is on that. So, but I think we are honoring what was said by persons of the past that none of us were really involved in those conversations.
Okay, thank you.
I think we do need to give a little context, maybe to developer, what the developer's already done. Mr. Williams is out there. Dustin's also there. Seth, I would ask if you don't mind, would you come forward and then. Donnie, can you go back on the map where you've got those sewer lines kind of drawn in? Seth, you doing okay this afternoon? Man, we're good. I want to split this conversation into two parts, and I'll be quick. But one is showing the ROI and what growth has already been there and kind of why it's not a request of, I want to go do a project out over here, and I'd like you to bring sewer and water to me, but it's a completion and another phase of what you've already done. And then I do think we're the exception. I don't think we should be looking at your project as kind of a one-off. Should we make an exception because you don't fit our development policy? Right. I think what's happened is back then the development policy was you came in, you had conversations, you got the approval, staff committed to you that they'd go forward with the design, council approved the project, but then never took action on putting the shovel-ready part. And so,
So this particular project was one of the very first projects inside the city of Amarillo where we came up with a conceptual development plan, basically coming through there and laying out what is the overall goal for the entire development, laying out where all the streets are going to be, what's the water, sewer, where is everything going to be coming into the project, what are the capacity, what are the needs that's going to be coming in, because before that there wasn't any mechanism in place to say, hey, we need a 15-inch sewer line to come down to meet this project to make it work, or a water line, or expanding streets or whatever else. There was no documentation to say, hey, this is what's going to be happening. So this was one of the very first subdivisions where we implemented the conceptual development plan, laying out the entire 1,152 lots. So in order to get this project started, we actually extended the sewer line on 46th Street from about half a mile down that road to the corner of 46th and Tradewind. And then we also extended it from 46th and Tradewind all the way up to 34th Street. That kind of got that project up and going. Knowing that there was going to be about 9 to 10 phases, that we were going to be able to use that sewer line that we extended up to Tradewind Road down 46th Street, that we'd be able to gain some time to get this development going, allow the city to have that public-private partnership where we're both investing in the growth of the city, to then extend that sewer line down 58th Street, which would then open up some more potential development and land. Some of the land that's to the south of us, there's some area just on the south or west of 58th there. They would open up some more developments potential in that area. And when we also did this development, it was we tried to bring an affordable house, an affordable lot for the citizens. And this price point, it started out at $150,000 a house, what you could buy a brand new house over there. Now it's $190,000 to $215,000, and extra cost just rises the home prices, and we're trying to make an affordable neighborhood here. And, you know, back in 2016, when we did this conceptual development plan, that was part of the overall discussions in that CDP. So, and, you know, we didn't really press it just because it was moving forward. And, you know, it started to get to the point where we're running out of we can't go north anymore because we have to start going south. So just start bringing back up those conversations, and it's just been, basically given more time for the city to kind of get that project into play. I will also say this, since 2016 when this subdivision came online, it's been about 12% of the city of Amarillo's permitted homes have been inside this particular neighborhood.
How many houses have you built over there?
That one has been 700. I have it right here. I think it's about 900. I think it's about.
So about 900 houses.
Yeah. No, that's the wrong one. That's in Heritage Hills. So that's probably about 400 or 500 over there.
Okay. And this is the hardest market to hit. So trying to be in the 180, 190 market right now, you know, really I think most of what we see out there is probably closer to 235 for kind of entry level, like where you're starting. And those are even smaller homes, you know, 1,200 square feet. So I guess the error here that I heard in the meetings, and it was your brother Noah that said, well, I guess the mistake we made was we didn't get a signed developer's agreement from the city. We took your word for it. The guy that we were talking to said, you're in the plan, you're in the budget, we'll move forward. And then now, you know, what we have is I've got two good leads here working on behalf of the community and the citizens, still trying to follow that developer model and that manual, but also balancing that with, we can see an ROI here. You're going to add 1,150 new users. That's great. New taxpayers. We've got to come up with, you know, $2.5 million, it looks like, say $3 million, to invest in that on your behalf. And you're not asking us to go any further than just the corner of your property. You're going to finish your designs to get to us.
Yeah. So, you know, we'll pick it up there at the edge of the property, and then we'll extend based off of the city policy, extending that sewer line that will go down 58th Street, which will then end up encompassing, open up the possibility for the land to the south of us to possibly tie onto that sewer line as well.
So I want to ask a different question, maybe more on kind of the policy. Like, do we feel like our development policy manual is complete and it has good guidelines for you guys, or do we need to have a separate conversation about that manual, and maybe we need to implement a few other protocols that'll keep this a little tighter moving forward?
So the answer to that would be we are evaluating the development policy manual. I think it's fairly complete with what it needs in it, but we are evaluating as we speak. We're evaluating two other policies right now, or procedures that we have when it comes to right-of-ways, different things like that. All encompassing, we're looking at everything as a whole. In fact, we had a meeting this morning with staff talking about the things that we need to be changing or looking at as far as the ordinances. You know, they'll get outdated, and we need to make sure that we're going back and staying up on that, both in water and sewer, development, all of those things that we need to be looking at. So that's the best answer I can give you, is that we're starting to go down that evaluation path of what we need to do on those.
I think that's important, and I think that's something that we at council would see the benefit in helping kind of deliver confidence. So we want developers that have confidence in us. We also want staff that has confidence in the transfer of the knowledge from, you know, one position to another as we continue to hand the baton. Tell me on your ROIs, you ran the numbers, what will 1,150 homes generate over there when that's built out that would benefit the city on the taxpayer side?
I'll tell you that in 1 second. It's 540 houses.
540 is what you put in?
Is what's gone in right now. Additional we estimated $2.65 million in water and sewer revenue, and taxes revenue, another $1.6 million estimated.
So roughly $4 million in revenues that would come to the city, not including any commercial properties or sales tax, anything like that. So if we're looking, gentlemen, at making a $3 million investment into an area of town that is unserved right now, but underserved in the market. I mean, this one is the one. And then, I would say E&I, I'm going to say it stands for extensions and improvements because I don't know, and it sounds right. But in the budget, I see that E&I. Does it stand for extensions and improvements?
It does.
Well, good job.
Good job.
So $5 million a year, roughly, that we've budgeted year over year for E&I?
That's not the number we received, but.
What is the number?
The number we received was 2.67.
2.67, was that was the one?
That was including water and sewer both. That was
Okay.
taxing water and sewer.
So where I would start is, if we just need to look at this from the front end of, did we make an obligation to a developer that showed confidence in us as a city? He invested, has a strong development, definitely has the best marketability and a market that does sell. We're leveraged at that point. Then we take the next step. Can we see the ROI on the payout? I don't know if your numbers are right, but if it is $4 million a year in revenues, that's justifiable. Then we really have to find, the money's not there. We need to go find it. So looking back in 24, 25, we would look at those E&I numbers and just see, did we spend all that? If we didn't, then my last question would be, do you have any other projects that are already designed, that are sitting out there, that are shovel-ready, that we need to be considering at the same time? Because if we don't have one, then the design on this one is collaborative with what's already going on Osage. So I'm interested in the timing factor too. Do you have anything else that's sitting there on the shelf?
We haven't, I'm sure that we do. We're going to have to evaluate that. We're waiting on council direction today to see if this is a path forward, and then over the next 2 weeks, we'll be looking at where we can find just the 250 for design at this time.
Okay. So council, I know we're walking through that a little bit. And right now, you don't have anything else that you're being asked to spend money that's already in the budget for E&I for designs, just for the 250. But we do need to give direction on that, and I fail to see how this isn't a good investment in a part of town where I know we need to grow. And I'm definitely a guy that I believe growth pays for growth, and I think that part of balancing a city is paying for sewer and water extensions, not always expecting just the developer or just the end user to absorb that cost, because ultimately it's all of your money, whether you're paying that to a mortgage company or it's on your dollar cost average on the cost of the home, or it's paid in a rate for that water bill. So I think we could identify funding. Council, anybody not feel like that 250 is money well spent for an area of town that needs it?
Well, okay, let's just be clear. This is not, in my estimation, this is not a debate on the value of your project. You guys have invested seriously in this community for many years and helped us out. Yep. So I just want to be clear. I'm not debating the value. I guess my question is, so I see the value. But also, we have a set of rules that we apply to everyone, and we deal with everyone in the community. And when there's good, clear rules set up, it's clear. Some people still may not like it, but we've got these rules and guidelines to be able to do that. A couple of questions I've got is, so tell me, between 2016 and now, what was the communication like between the Williams Group and the city on this?
So the conceptual development plan was put in place so that it would give city and staff a plan forward. And inside the conceptual development plan, it shows on there units 1, 2, 3, 4, how the development is going to end up going. And that was designed. That was, like I said, was one of the first ones to design to show what future potential obligations and or needs would be requested potentially from the city or from developers or whoever else at some point in time as the development moves forward. So that was put in front of, it wasn't put in front of the council, but it's put in front of staff, and it shows that we needed to have a sewer line at 58th and Osage. And we knew that we could have about 10 years worth of development because we put in that sewer line to the north, and that would give the city time to design, figure out what needed to take place. There's been lots of different conversations that I've had with to different engineers throughout the years, whether it was going to be going through the middle of that section or down 58th Street or which way it was going to be going. But basically, over the last 10 years, basically allowing time for the city to come up with their design. And about 2022, 23, about 5 years ago, we started saying, hey, like, you know, I've had some time now, where are we on this? Oh, it's coming, we've got this, we have designs, we have people engaged on it, and just kept asking, where are we on it? And it just kind of getting pushed and pushed and pushed, and now everyone that was a part of it wasn't here. So,
and so
I mean, it was just part of the overall.
So between 2016 and 22, 23, kind of dormant during that area?
Yeah, because
you were working on other parts of the project.
No, we're working on this project, and all the sewer is flowing to the north, to that sewer line that we put in on the north side.
Okay. And then I asked the question, so Donnie said the only official request has been the 250 at this point?
That's a starting spot to get, because you got to have a design of what you're going to put in over there to get sewer to that corner.
But it'd be your preference that the council pay for also the construction project, or the city pay for the construction project?
Yes, because I think it's a benefit that it opens up sewer access to both the two sections to the north and the south that the sewer line passes through, as well as once we pick it up on our section, we'll take that sewer line at that depth and continue to extend it on to the east, which will then possibly open up for the next section to the south of that as well. So I mean, I look at it as a public investment in the overall future for the growth of Amarillo.
Yeah. So Donnie, let me just say, so besides the 500 plus homes in the subdivision, who else benefits from this?
Well, just like he said, I mean, there's a potential that others could develop property around that there's no sewer service to at the present time.
Okay.
South, back to the west in that area there. That's, if you look just south of where it's labeled Southeast 58th Avenue, everything south of that does not have sewer as well.
Right. Okay. And this may be a question but as I understand, is this council legally obligated to fulfill this requirement?
No, sir. The way the policy is written, as I read it, of course, our city code points to the policy. It says that, first off, summarize that, is it public purpose? Can you justify an ROI, and is there funding? And so that's what it kind of comes down to. So, no, you're not obligated to do this, but as a council, you do have the ability, the flexibility under the policy to do it if you so chose.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, again, this is a unique situation. I understand that, but what precedent do we set in moving, if we do move forward with this?
Well, the fortunate thing I would say to that question is as I explained to the Williams Group when we had our meeting, is that had this been a brand new greenscape first time to us, it'd be a different conversation. But this is one that goes back 10 years, prior city staff, prior councils, and so that right there already kind of limits your exposure, I would say, if I use that word, and for others coming to your door. If they were here 10 years ago, they may have the same conversation. If they're first time today, different conversation. But I think it comes down to every council. This topic goes across every city council's desk in every city I've been in and across the nation. Is what are our thresholds for expending public funds for private partner projects, economic development? What is your threshold? What is the ROI? What is the Is it a 3-year return? Is it a 20-year return? How does that work? Are we paying for fire? Is fire service going to be covered through this? Police service? You have to go through all those calculations, because even our rates right now are not set up for extensions necessarily, but when you start getting to volume, like 1,100 homes versus 11 homes, different thing. So one business versus an industry, different things. Not every project is the exact same as another project. So that's what councils have to go through, those challenging conversations as a council, decide, is this project worth it versus another project? I don't know if I answered your question there, but it's you have the flexibility, yes, to do this, but I think you're not necessarily setting a precedent, because how many 1,100 home projects are you looking at on your desk?
Well, I guess my question would be, what's the statute of limitations on past promises?
Oh yeah, and again, you're not bound to do this because what happened 10 years ago. That's why we're bringing it to you.
But I'm just saying, I don't know what else is out there. So anyway, I'm again, nothing to do with the project, totally understand that. I just think when we go into these things, I just think we need to be very careful on how we proceed with them and look at the present, not dismissing the value of the project.
I'm not trying to form it that way or format it to you that way. And I appreciate you being willing to get up and discuss your project individually. But as a whole, I think we should frame the conversation around enterprise. And so sewer and water is an enterprise. It's set up as an enterprise. We ran the budget numbers, in these actuals, and, we've got a net profit of roughly $18 million in 24-25. So we're running a business very well. Now, I don't know of any other businesses that say, Mr. Developer, you'll pay for the mainline extension. I'll adopt it and I'll take that, thank you. And then I'll take the 1,150 users and I'll charge them and I'll increase their rate 8.25% every year to pay for wastewater treatment and other things and services. And so we'll continue to go up on our price, but we believe it to be fair for you to gift our enterprise because we are fellow enterprises. And so we have to look at it that way. We are stewarding that business entity, and it's a healthy entity. And so you have to equate that, not to Mr. Williams or the Williams Group, but to the city of Amarillo and expectation. Do we expect to grow and to just have everything gifted to us on the enterprise side? And this is not a conflation of funds. This doesn't have anything to do with property tax. This doesn't have anything to do with your drainage tax. This just has to do with the enterprise that's running very, very healthily. Now, we are an executive board that should be making decisions like any other board of directors, that we reinvest that money back into capital and we put it back in so that it returns even more, so that the next set of guys that are here or girls have the ability to continue to invest it. And so that's what I'm trying to format around. I don't mean to make an example of you. It's just you've been working with us since 2016 and you've delivered on this particular development. And so I believe that the city has the capacity to invest in itself.
Yeah.
And I want to separate it from it's
and
not going to.
I don't have any concern about that. I guess at the end of the day, for me, this doesn't meet the policies that we've set. That's a concern.
That's the thing that we're not.
And I mean,
we're not saying
we're at the point where those were the policies. I mean, again, maybe they met the policies there, but and so that whether it's this project or someone else, that's.
But I want to make sure we understand. We are not saying that this particular project does not meet our policy guidelines.
That's correct.
We're not saying that. We're saying we want to study it. We need to look at the ROI return, and the only thing that's not in there is somewhere in there we didn't update our master plan to reflect this as a housing development.
And I probably didn't do a very good job, Councilman Simpson, of explaining to how many meetings and conversations we've had about this that are leading up to today. I think these started back in December, November or December, when we started having our conversations. So part of my responsibility in that is to make sure that we thoroughly vet everything that we're looking at, make sure that we have turned over every stone that we can, so that when we come and bring this to you at council, you can have confidence that we've looked at every possibility that there is out there. And we've looked at the policy to make sure that it meets the criteria, to make sure that it meets. Now, I mentioned those three things, and it doesn't meet those three red light, green light, yellow light things that we look at. But once we dig into it and we start looking at the entire thing, based on the conversations that we had before, based on the policy, we have the flexibility to look at that and see if it serves a public need, to see if it should have been a part of the master plan and things like that. So I think it's been thoroughly vetted on our side. I just want you to have confidence that this isn't something that just came up a couple of weeks ago. We're bringing it to council.
Not saying it is, but that wasn't what you said at the beginning. You said that we have certain things that we looked at, and it's not checking the boxes on this. So now we're saying we're going to kind of go back and look at it again and see if now all of a sudden it is checking the boxes.
The initial things that we look at are those three things. And then after that, we go back and start looking at the policy, seeing what it's going to do as far as growth, seeing why it wasn't in the master plan. You have to look at all that. Those master plans are not going to include everything that we have. So we have the ability to evaluate based on the policy. It allows us to have that latitude to do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So I appreciate the conversation. Mr. Williams, thank you for being here.
If you need anything else, just feel free to holler.
We will.
All right.
Any other questions for Mr. Hooper? Okay. Council, we need to give direction here And so would just be in favor of directing the staff to spend the $250,000 that's already in your budget for items just like this, to bring it back for
It is
a
not already
potential
in our
value.
budget, so we need to clear that up. We would have to bring back to you a proposal to how we would put that into the budget for your approval.
So let's clear that up real quick. So 18 million in a net cash flow position in the previous year is what I'm looking at in that enterprise. Are you saying that, like, as we pull that forward with a budget amendment on that enterprise, we can't utilize that money that's
I'm saying we can with
currently?
your approval, but we need to bring that back to you. That's what we've been driving toward and what council's
Okay.
requested of us.
Let me be more specific. I would hope we could move forward with this because we have an excess in our previous year's budget that we haven't identified yet.
I'd want to vote on it. I mean, this council's kind of set its own standard. Listen, if there's something not in the budget, it needs to come to us for approval.
No, I agree with that.
Yes, and so I think to clear it up, this particular item was not presented to you in last year's summer presentation for this budget, so it's not been budgeted.
And this is not an action item today
It's
either.
not an action item today, yes. So we will go back, with your blessing, we will go back and identify funds, whether it's from the excess or from another CIP. We're going to do the work we need to do to bring back to you ideas in order to kind of get with $250,000. So I would ask that you not lead us towards a particular direction. We can bring you ideas.
No, let me redirect that, make sure I'm saying it. I was asked to have a project, an item that would come back on May 12th for the 250, not a voting item here today. We are giving direction for you to bring it on the next council agenda
Correct.
item for the expected 250,000. So very much in line with bringing it for a vote, not approving the 250 to be spent here today.
Yeah.
Giving direction so you can put it on the next agenda and we would all look at it.
Yes, correct. Yes, so we'll bring it back to you. We'll identify a funding source in order to make this happen. That's work we need to go do. But yeah, we'll bring it back to you for a voting item at the 12th.
I like it. Okay, so council, any other redirection, any other questions we get? Okay. It is 5:23. Let's take a 10-minute break. We'll come right back. Thank you. Holbach, how you doing back there? We're back live. Okay, we'll officially call ourselves back into session here. We've moved through 5.2. We appreciate the discussion. We're going to move into 5.3. Mr. Hooper, environmental information documents.
I promise this one will be short. So this item really is just a housekeeping item, if you will, to bring before council for a draft environmental information document. We call it the EID. And basically what's happening here is we're satisfying the requirements of the Texas Water Development Board for that $60 million that we submitted for that low-interest loan for our wastewater treatment plant. Part of that process is to come back and have an open house showing some information about our environmental information document. So I'm going to invite Kelly Saladas and Kimberly Horn to come up and speak about that. We held that this morning at 11 a.m., and she can give the details on that.
Good evening. As Mr. Hooper mentioned, the EID is required as part of the federal funding process. The EID describes the proposed project and its location, and it evaluates the potential impacts associated with the project. On this particular project, there are no impacts to wetlands or floodplains. As part of the process, the city coordinated with federal, state, and local agencies and hosted a public meeting open house earlier today. Public comments in written form will be accepted through May 5th, 2026. There's a few next steps in this process and anticipated progression of the project. So the next steps in this project for us in terms of the EID are to review and address the public and agency comments, and those will be incorporated into the final EID and submitted to Texas Water Development Board. Upon review and approval by the Texas Water Development Board, we're anticipated to receive a finding of no significant impact. This will allow the funding to be released and for us to advance the project for further design. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Told you.
Yes. Questions, council?
And that really just, that satisfies Texas Water Development Board. It crosses a T, dots an I for us to continue with that process, and we hope to hear something from them soon at their July meeting, I think, is the next opportunity to hear something on the status of that.
We know you guys have been working diligently on it. I've been given a few updates. I know Councilman Prescott is right in the middle of everything on it. So we appreciate you guys moving it forward and continuing to be mindful of the total. So anything on this one, gentlemen? Please move forward with it. Do we have any future agenda items? To go back, I know Mr. Fisher was requesting the traffic, and do we have an idea how long that'll take to get that study back?
It's in the works, and I believe that's going to be scheduled either for the 12th or the second meeting in May.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have, Alan's working through that now.
So
we're gathering data.
We could set an expectation that that item would be sometime
It'll be either
the
the first or second meeting in May for sure.
Really good. Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to move forward into our non-consent agenda. Very first up, got our all-time favorite presenter, none other than Mr. Brady Kendrick. He's going to read us into a zoning item, and then we'll have a public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This first one is a public hearing in consideration of Ordinance 8246. This is the public hearing on a vacation of a public alley that is located in the vicinity of Southwest 26th Avenue and Britton Drive. This is located in the Lawrence Park subdivision, and it is approximately 8,451 square feet of alleyway that's proposed to be abandoned. And the applicant is Furman Land Surveyors, Inc. for Southwestern Public Service Company, Inc. This is located on the north side of that substation behind the Market Street on Georgia Street that XL just upgraded. They had relocated this alley once before already, and because they bought all the property on both sides of this alley. Back then, they weren't exactly sure what they wanted to do with the property. Now they've identified that they want to use this area as a utility laydown yard, essentially, for equipment and materials. So they want to shift the alley to the north end of the property, and they are also in the process of relocating all the utilities that are found in this alley. Staff did review the request along with local utility companies, and given that XL is actively relocating all those and will retain a temporary public utility easement over the area, there were no objections expressed. And given that they are rededicating the alley further north and also funding the relocation of those utilities. No fair market value payment will be needed from Xcel Energy. We have not received any public comments on this one, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with a 6-0 vote.
Any questions for Mr. Kendrick? Okay. Thank you, Brady.
No problem.
Appreciate you again. At this time, we will open a public hearing. Do I have anyone here who would like to speak for or against this item? Seeing no one on this item, did I hear? Oh, yes. Anyone that would like to speak for or against this item? Okay. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing and would entertain a motion on item 6.1.
I move to approve ordinance 8246 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on ordinance 8246. With no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes with a 4-0 vote. Thank you, Mr. Kendrick.
No problem.
Are you up on the next one as well?
I am, if there are any questions on this one.
Okay. I am going to abstain from this for a potential conflict, so I'm going to hand this over to Mayor Pro Tem, ask you to run this item.
All right. Would you take care of us on this one, Brady?
Yep, so this one is the consideration of ordinance 8243. This was the a rezoning that you all considered at the last meeting. Because the mayor had to abstain on this one and the vote was not a unanimous yes, it has to be on the non-consent agenda today. So nothing's changed since the last meeting. This is the church that's being proposed to be converted into a daycare. No public comments have been received in the meantime, so we have nothing additional unless there's any questions.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?
I move to adopt ordinance number 8243 as presented.
Second.
All right. We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, item 6.3. We have our finance director coming forward on this one, Mrs. Owens.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Today, the resolution for 04-28-26-1 is authorizing the city to seek and distribute state funds pursuant to Article 5190.14, Section 5C of the Texas Revised Civil Statutes for this event for the WRCA, the Working Ranch Cowboys Association World Championship Ranch Rodeo. And this is for the Amarillo Potter event venue district. So the state of Texas has an event trust fund, and that is used to help recruit events that could go to other states across the nation. And if you have an event that chooses to come to Texas, they have certain qualifications. If they meet those qualifications, they can work with the local municipalities and to apply for the funds through the State Event Trust Fund. It's a long process, but it does start with a resolution from the City Council authorizing us to go forward and start working on the state application. And the state will look at the sales tax that would be generated, look at the number of participants, the number of people that will come into the community, and then the state requires the city to put a local match portion into the event trust fund, and then once everything is approved, the state will give back the state's piece along with the local piece. So we will get the state sales tax, and that will go to the event developers as their incentive to bring that event to the local area. And we have done this one with the WRCA for a couple years. This event will be November 15th through the 12th through the 15th, I apologize. For prior year, we wired $40,052 for the local share. Do you have any questions on WRCA?
Ms. Owens, we appreciate it. I know this is something we've seen and familiar with, so I don't think we have any questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Requesting a motion on item 6.3. Battery dead? Oh.
I move to adopt resolution 042826-1 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second on item 6.3. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes with a 4-0 vote. Last item, item 6.4. Mrs. Owens, back over to you.
This one is me as well. This is also for the venue district. This is for the 2026 AQHA Versatility Ranch Horse World Championship. Now, this should have come to you in August of 2025. It did not make it as a resolution to you. We had overturn of the CFO. I took over the responsibilities. The third party that helps us with the paperwork proceeded to have us do the application, and so we filed the application. We have been approved, but we need to back up, realizing we missed a step during the transition, and get the resolution for this event. This event will take place in June 21st through 27th. Local share is going to be $10,907. We have not sent that money in as of yet. Can I answer any questions on that?
Council, questions on this item? Okay? No, ma'am. Thank you. Entertain a motion on the last item.
I move to adopt resolution 042826-3.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes with a 4-0 vote. Do I have a motion to adjourn, gentlemen?
Motion.
So moved. See you guys next time. Thank y'all.